Picture a conversation with a friend or a date you've been talking to for months. Things are good. There's momentum. You send a message, and then nothing. No reply, no goodbye. They just stop existing in your life. We call this ghosting. It's a digital manifestation of the silent treatment, and according to social psychologists, it is the most common form of ostracism in the modern world. This hurts differently than a regular rejection. When someone uses actual words to tell you it's over, your brain gets closure. It can file the experience away and move on. But ghosting is an exit without a door. By refusing to provide a formal ending, the person leaving creates an open psychological loop. Without an explanation, the brain is forced to keep working on an unsolvable puzzle. This internal crisis develops because the mind is unable to ignore a situation it hasn't filed away, leaving you to obsessively refresh an inbox that will never load. This creates a frantic psychological state. You replay the conversation and audit your own personality, searching for a logical reason for the abandonment. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. It is the brain's baseline compulsion to fixate on unfinished tasks and unresolved situations. Because the folder of the relationship can't be closed, those unresolved thoughts occupy mental real estate, like a tenant who stopped paying rent but cannot be removed. You become a detective investigating yourself. This isn't a metaphorical struggle. The ambiguity of the silence has a literal neurobiological impact. Brain imaging shows social rejection activates the same regions as a physical injury. When ghosted, your brain registers it as actual pain. As those pain centers fire, they flood your nervous system with cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone. The ambiguity itself becomes the stressor. Ghosting traps the victim in a sustained fight-or-flight response, but because the threat is invisible and unsolvable, there is nothing to fight and nowhere to run. To understand why this happens, we have to look at the ghost. These individuals are usually motivated by a cocktail of high avoidance and low emotional tolerance. For many, confrontation feels physically threatening. Their nervous system treats a difficult conversation the same way it would treat being chased by a predator. This leads to emotional flooding. This is the moment someone is overwhelmed past a certain threshold, causing their brain to hit a metaphorical circuit breaker. When that breaker trips, the brain shuts down communication it categorizes as non-essential. To the ghoster, staying silent feels like the only safe option, even if they convince themselves they are sparing your feelings. Swipe culture makes this exit easier. With an infinite supply of connections, the cost of walking away drops. There is often no social accountability, making ghosting the lowest effort choice. The ghoster is fleeing their own emotional inadequacy, inadvertently offloading the entire psychological weight of the ending onto the person they left behind. When ghosting happens repeatedly, the damage begins to reshape how you relate to other people. Your brain develops maladaptive schemas, belief systems formed from pain that are meant to protect you but end up limiting you. You start to associate vulnerability exclusively with abandonment. You become hypervigilant, analyzing response times and pulling back before anyone else can. In a cycle of self-defense, victims can eventually become ghosts themselves, disappearing to avoid being disappeared. It is vital to reframe what the silence actually communicates. Being ghosted provides no information about your inherent worth. Instead, the silence is a metric of the ghoster's emotional ceiling. It reveals their current struggle to navigate the discomfort of an adult ending and their inability to sit with someone else's disappointment. Look at the math. A text message saying, "I'm not feeling this," takes 11 seconds to write. Avoiding those 11 seconds of personal discomfort results in weeks of psychological anguish for the other person. Choosing the path of least resistance through silence creates a massive emotional debt, making ghosting one of the most costly decisions in a relationship.